can't give you justice. This jury has given you what we as humans, the best we as humans can do to give you justice. Justice would be if I could reverse all of this, and I can't.
Picture this. It's early morning, November 10th, 2009. The sun hasn't even come up yet in Sanford, North Carolina. Inside a Walmart, security cameras are recording everything like they always do. Customers walking in, employees stocking shelves, just another normal day. But at 5:47 in the morning, something happens that nobody expected. A man walks through those automatic doors. He's carrying a little girl. She's wearing a bright yellow shirt and yellow pants. Her head is resting against his shoulder. She's not moving. The employees who saw him that morning thought maybe she was sleeping, maybe she was sick. But something felt wrong. Something felt really, really wrong. Within 3 days, that piece of video footage would break open a case so shocking, so disturbing, that it would change laws in multiple states. But here's what you need to know right now. That video, that moment at Walmart, that wasn't the beginning of this story. The beginning happened 5 days earlier, and the person responsible for what happened to that little girl, nobody saw it coming. Not her family, not the neighbors, not even the police. Let me take you back 5 days before that Walmart video, because if we're going to understand what really happened here, we need to start at the very beginning. But I have to warn you about something first. What you're about to hear is going to be hard to listen to. This story involves a child, a 5-year-old girl named Shania Davis, and the things that happened to her should never happen to anyone, let alone a kid. There are parts of this case that the media didn't fully cover: witnesses who saw things, phone records that didn't make sense, a timeline with holes in it that nobody could explain. So stay with me, because every piece of this puzzle matters. Every detail brings us closer to understanding how something this terrible could actually happen. Are you ready? Let's go back to where it all started. Shania Davis was born on January 30th, 2004. For the first few years of her life, she was happy, really happy. She lived with her dad, Bradley Lockhart, and his side of the family in North Carolina, her aunts, her uncles, her cousins. If you looked at pictures of Shania from those years, you'd see a little girl with the biggest smile, bright eyes, always dressed nice, always clean, always laughing. Her Aunt Carrie would later tell reporters that Shania was the kind of kid who made everyone around her feel better. She loved to sing, she loved to dance, she'd walk into a room and just light it up. Her school records showed perfect attendance. She was doing well in kindergarten, making friends, learning to read. By every measure, this was a child who was loved, a child who was safe. But there was someone missing from all those happy pictures: her mother. Shania's biological mother was a woman named Antoinette Davis, and Antoinette had been in and out of Shania's life since the day she was born. See, Antoinette struggled. She had problems with substances. She couldn't keep stable housing. She'd show up sometimes, make promises about getting better, about wanting to be a mom, and then she'd disappear again for months. Bradley and his family basically raised Shania on their own, and for 4 years that's how things were. But then something changed. In the fall of 2009, Antoinette reached out to Bradley. She called him up and told him she'd gotten herself together. The Walmart on North Horner Boulevard was quiet that morning. It was barely 6 a.m. A few early shoppers, some employees getting ready for the day shift, normal stuff. And then Mario McNeil walked through those automatic doors. He was carrying Shania in his arms. She was wearing that yellow shirt and yellow pants. Her head was down against his shoulder. She looked like she was asleep, but something was wrong. You could see it in the security footage, the way he was walking, fast, not stopping to look at anything, just moving through the store like he had somewhere to be. A loss prevention officer noticed them. Something felt off, but by the time anyone could react, Mario was already gone. That video would become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. But here's something that bothered investigators, something that didn't add up. The timestamp on that Walmart security video shows 5:47 a.m., right? But cell phone tower data showed that Mario's phone pinged at a completely different location at 5:52 a.m., just 5 minutes later. And that other location? It was more than 15 minutes away by car. So how did he get there so fast? How do you drive 15 minutes in 5 minutes? The answer is simple. He didn't. Someone else was involved. Someone else was with him. Or someone else was driving a different car. Investigators believe that other people helped Mario that morning, but they've never been able to prove exactly who those people were. To this day, there are people out there who know what happened, people who were there, people who helped, and they've never been caught. At around 10 a.m. on November 10th, Antoinette Davis called 911. She reported that Shania was missing. She told the dispatcher that she'd put Shania to bed the night before, that everything was fine, that when she went to check on her in the morning, Shania was just gone, vanished. The police came to the mobile home right away, and from the very beginning, something didn't feel right. Detectives started asking Antoinette questions, basic questions. When did you last see Shania? What was she wearing? Did you hear anything during the night? And her answers kept changing. First, she said Shania disappeared around 6 a.m. Then she said maybe it was earlier. Then she said she wasn't sure. Her story shifted every time they asked. Experienced detectives know what that means. When someone's story keeps changing, they're usually lying.
We have taken that from him. The time is 43 months. Has not healed or diminished his pain. I think about those last seconds. And you was the last thing my daughter got to look at.
Mario Andred McNeil was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was also charged with other serious crimes related to what he did to Shania. His trial didn't start right away. These things take time. Lawyers need to prepare. Evidence needs to be processed. Witnesses need to be interviewed. The trial finally began in 2013, 4 years after Shania died. And the evidence against Mario was overwhelming. There was the Walmart security footage showing him carrying Shania. There was DNA evidence that linked him directly to the crime. There were witnesses who testified about what they saw and heard. There were his own cell phone records that placed him at the exact locations where investigators knew he'd been. The defense tried to argue that Mario wasn't responsible for Shania's death. They tried to say that someone else was involved, that maybe Mario had just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the jury didn't buy it, not for a second. In October 2013, Mario McNeil was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to death. But here's something that came out during that trial, something that shocked even the people who thought they'd heard everything. Mario's defense team made a claim. They said that Antoinette had done this before, not the murder, but the trading, the selling of access to children. They claimed there had been other men, other transactions. They suggested that Shania's siblings might have been at risk before they were removed from Antoinette's care.
We have taken that from him. The time is 43 months. Has not healed or diminished his pain. I think about those last seconds. And you was the last thing my daughter got to look at.